In the last video, we looked at something that can be used to improve the retrieval of information from long-term memory, cues. In this video, we're looking at something that has a similar function, mnemonic devices. Mnemonic devices are, essentially, techniques that we can use to improve our memory. Often they will add layers of encoding, linking new information to what we already know. Three types of mnemonic devices are acronyms, acrostics, and narrative chaining. Acronyms are abbreviations of phrases or series of words. The abbreviation is formed by combining the first letters of each individual word. This combination is then itself pronounced as a whole. For example, NASA for National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and AIDS for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. Acronyms work as mnemonic devices because each letter of the new word then acts as a cue for remembering the rest of the words. For example, in NASA, the N acts as a cue for remembering national. Acrostics are sort of the opposite of acronyms. Instead of forming a new word by taking the first letters of a bunch of words, we're taking the letters of a word to form a bunch of new words. Say for some reason you need to remember the arbitrary collection of letters HMDATIAIWRLTK. To help you remember these letters, you could use an acrostic by using each of those letters to form a short story. For example, how many days are there in August? I would really like to know. Without the use of this acrostic, you would unlikely be able to remember all of the letters because there are more letters there than the capacity of short-term memory can handle. For future reference, there are 31 days in August. And then there is narrative chaining. Narrative chaining largely relies on the principles of elaborate rehearsal. By giving information meaning or linking it to already encoded information, the likelihood of remembering that information increases. This technique is called narrative chaining because it often results in us making a short narrative. For example, say we had to remember the following items on a shopping list: apples, deodorant, dog collar, fish, chocolate, umbrella, juice. We can make these words into a narrative. For example, the dog lost its dog collar when it chased a fish down the river. It was so wet that it needed an umbrella, and it became a bit smelly. It needed some deodorant. When we caught the dog, we celebrated with apples and chocolate. Putting the word into a narrative makes us less likely to forget them. Now that we know that, these questions from the 2011 VCAR exam should be very doable. Here, we have a scenario where our old friend Frank is concerned about remembering, in the correct order, all the items he had to discuss during his work presentation. He made up a short and funny story which included each key word in order, and then used this to assist recall when he presented the speech. The mnemonic device used by Frank was A. An acrostic, B. Method of loci, C. Peg word method, or D. Narrative chaining. Don't panic. The method of loci and the peg word method are no longer in the study design, so you don't need to know about them. That immediately makes it a two-horse race between option A and option D. We should almost immediately be able to recognize that the correct response is narrative chaining. Frank has arranged the words into a short story, a narrative, to help him remember them in order. Let's have a look at the follow-up question then. It reads, the mnemonic device used by Frank would have assisted his memory by A. Allowing him to rehearse information in short-term memory, B. Adding state-dependent cues to the material to be learnt and retrieved, C. Decreasing the amount and complexity of information to be learnt and retrieved, or D. Elaborating the information and enhancing its organization in long-term memory. Arranging the words in a short story gives each word context and meaning. In other words, Frank is using elaborative rehearsal. Therefore, option D here is the correct response. Keep working hard and have a psychedelic day.